Now, acting requires the performer to enter their character's headspace during shooting and ideally be able to disengage whenever the cameras aren't rolling, and especially once filming has finally been completed. Yet, many actors have a habit of letting their work rub off on them, and while this can sometimes be a positive thing, often it's a little more concerning. Perhaps it's an actor struggling to leave their character behind and resume their regular life, or maybe a movie left them second-guessing aspects of their career. Whatever the reason, these actors were all given the idea to do highly questionable things as a result of appearing in a movie. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is Whatculture.com, and these are 10 movies that gave actors the idea to do something really stupid. Number 10. Jennifer Grey got a career-ruining nose job. Dirty Dancing. In the late 1980s, Jennifer Grey's career seemed to be riding high, having appeared in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Dirty Dancing back-to-back. However, following Dirty Dancing's mammoth and commercial success, Grey felt that her distinct physical appearance, namely the shape of her nose, made her, in her own words, look Jewish, and would therefore limit her ability to be cast in a wide variety of roles. And so, with the guidance of her mother, Grey elected to undergo 2 rhinoplasty procedures in the early 1990s, which ultimately ended up transforming her facial structure far more significantly than she had planned. As a result, even close friends didn't recognize Grey, and predictably the major physical change had an overwhelmingly negative effect on her career. Because Grey no longer resembled Baby from Dirty Dancing, she was seen as, air quotes, invisible in Hollywood, and even considered changing her name to basically start a career over again. In recent years, Grey admitted that her decision to have a nose job killed not only her career, but also her real sense of identity, telling Us Weekly, "I'll always be this once famous actress nobody recognizes because of a nose job." Grey has worked sporadically ever since, but back in 1987, it seemed like she was destined to become Hollywood's next it girl. Number 9. Hilary Swank kept a life-threatening condition to herself. $1 Million Baby. Clint Eastwood's Best Picture-winning drama $1 Million Baby stars Hilary Swank as embattled amateur boxer Maggie Fitzgerald, and throughout the shoot, Swank upheld Fitzgerald's gutsy persona even when the camera wasn't rolling. Yet, this almost ended up turning out fatal for Swank, who during an intense training session developed a blister on her foot, and after she popped it, it developed into a staph infection. Swank went to a doctor who informed her that had she waited just 2 more hours, she would have been hospitalized for 3 weeks, and it could have so easily turned fatal. Despite the seriousness of the condition though, Swank didn't inform director Eastwood or the film's producers because she felt it wouldn't be in character for Maggie to do so. Instead, she would fight through it as quietly as possible. While you can't argue with Swank's Oscar-winning performance in the film, when you're facing a real life-threatening infection and hundreds of crew members are reliant on you being healthy, it's definitely the right call to let the higher-ups know what's up. Thankfully, everything worked out in the end, but this was definitely a case of method acting getting dangerously close to the edge of safety and sense. Number 8. Dylan O'Brien lied about stealing precious artifacts. The Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials. While promoting Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials, star Dylan O'Brien revealed something that he probably shouldn't have, especially as it apparently turned out to be a lie. Some of the film's scenes were shot at a Native American burial ground in Albuquerque, which hadn't been used in a movie before, with the cast and crew being firmly instructed not to disturb the ground or remove anything from the site. However, during an interview with Live with Kelly and Michael, Dylan admitted that everybody just takes stuff, obviously, before mentioning that 5 cast members fell ill within a week of leaving the site and joking that it might have been the result of a curse. This caused members of the local Pueblo community to petition for the actor and others to return the lifted artifacts and apologize for their remarks, before Studio Fox investigated the matter and found no evidence that any artifacts were removed from the location. Fox's implication is obviously that the actor effectively lied about nabbing artifacts, which is stupid. Or the alternative is that he was indeed telling the truth, yet Fox failed to find any evidence of him pilfering from the shooting site because why would they? Either way, it made the actor look silly and disrespectful. And when Dylan was seriously injured the next year whilst shooting the 3rd Maze Runner film, causing production to shut down for almost an entire year, some less tactful observers remarked that it could have been the result of him being cursed. Number 7. Megan Fox compared her boss to Hitler. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. While on the press tour to promote Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen in 2009, Megan Fox made the decision to compare Michael Bay's directorial style to the iron fist of Adolf Hitler. Fox said he wants to be like Hitler on his sets, and he is. Shortly after the film's release, it was announced that Fox had been fired from the franchise as a result, with Bay claiming that executive producer Steven Spielberg instructed him to axe Fox, a claim that Spielberg nevertheless disputed. Whatever the means, Fox was indeed jettisoned from Transformers, with Rosie Huntington-Whiteley being drafted in as a new female lead for the film Transformers: Dark of the moon. While Fox certainly had every right to speak up if she felt she was being mistreated on set, comparing your boss to Hitler probably isn't a smart call. Fox and Bay subsequently cleared the air and worked together on 2014's Bay-produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, yet her flippant remark cost her a massive payday for the third Transformers film and made her a radioactive commodity in Hollywood for years, stifling her career as a result. Number 6. Ryan Gosling gained a ton of weight. The Lovely Bones. Ryan Gosling was originally cast to play the role of Susie Salmon's father Jack in Peter Jackson's The Lovely Bones, yet ended up being fired from the project just a month before shooting began. Though it was initially reported that Gosling and Jackson came to agree that he was too young for the part, being just 13 years older than his screen daughter, Gosling later admitted it was actually because of a decision he'd made. Without informing Jackson, Gosling, who felt that Jack needed to be hefty, decided to gain 60 pounds to play the part, which he achieved by drinking ice cream whenever he felt thirsty, and so he turned up to set grossly overweight while sporting a substantial beard, much to Jackson's surprise. Jackson promptly gave Gosling his marching orders, and Gosling's prize for packing on the pounds without getting the go-ahead first? Well, in his own words, he was now fat and unemployed. The lesson here, communication is kind of important. Number 5. Kristen Stewart cheated with her director, Snow White and the Huntsman. Shortly after the release of Snow White and the Huntsman in 2012, US Weekly published paparazzi photos of star Kristen Stewart in an embrace with director Rupert Sanders, revealing that the pair had embarked on an affair during shooting. Given that Stewart was in a relationship with Robert Pattinson at the time, while Sanders was married with 2 children to model Liberty Ross, the photos immediately became scandalous, all the more so once one of the Mosses brothers claimed the affair had been going on for months. The news steered basically all press attention away from the film itself, which performed modestly well at the box office, and resulted in both Stewart and Sanders being dismissed from a planned sequel. As a result, The Huntsman Winter's War was retooled into a prequel sequel focused around other characters, which was summarily panned by critics and flopped at the box office. If Stewart and Sanders hadn't embarked on their affair, which Stewart later called an exciting mistake, things probably would have worked out very differently, and at the very least, Stewart would have bagged herself another hefty blockbuster payday. Number 4. Mickey Rourke turned down major roles to return to boxing. Homeboy. Long before he became an actor, Mickey Rourke spent years fighting as an amateur boxer, racking up an impressive record of 27 wins and 3 losses between 1964 and 1973. But after receiving several concussions in the ring, Rourke decided to temporarily hang up the gloves and made a transition into acting, where he became a consistently acclaimed performer throughout the 1980s. In 1988, he starred in the boxing drama Homeboy, working from a script that he also wrote, as was evidently influenced by his own experiences in the ring. Yet the film was made at a time where Rourke felt that he was self-destructing, resulting in him turning down juicy roles in the likes of Platoon, Top Gun, Rain Man, and The Silence of the Lambs. And so in 1991, Rourke took a sabbatical from Hollywood and returned to the boxing ring, where he was undefeated in 8 professional fights. Yet the bevy of injuries he sustained, including a broken nose, split tongue, and compressed cheekbone, resulted in him requiring extensive reconstructive surgery. And so when Rourke returned to Hollywood in the mid-1990s, his physical appearance, namely his face, was markedly different from the ruggedly handsome Rourke of the 80s, which in combination with his reputation for being difficult, severely hampered his ability to get cast in major movies. Rourke did enjoy a fitful career resurgence in the 2000s with his high-profile appearances in Sin City, The Wrestler, and Iron Man 2, yet it's safe to say that Rourke unwittingly torpedoed his Hollywood career at its peak, when lucrative offers were being thrown at him left and right. Number 3. Janet Leigh stopped taking showers. Psycho. Now, Psycho's shower scene is one of the most iconic sequences in the history of cinema, in which poor Marion Crane is brutally stabbed to death while taking a shower in the Bates Motel. Though there's no doubting that shooting the scene was a challenge for Leigh, who spent a week semi-nude in a shower performing her own murder while being directed by the notoriously demanding Alfred Hitchcock, her response to it was nothing if not a colossal overcorrection. By Leigh's own admission, for the rest of her life she refused to take showers unless she had no other choice, at which point she'd lock all the doors and windows in the building while leaving the bathroom door open and continually watching the doorway. Now, to be clear, this is not an attempt to invalidate anyone's experience with trauma, but in Leigh's case, her perception of reality and fiction evidently got a little bit too intermingled. Number 2. Scarlett Johansson released 2 mediocre albums. Lost in Translation. One of the most memorable scenes in Sofia Coppola's Lost in Translation sees Bob and Charlotte heading to a karaoke bar to belt out some tunes. The scenes were reportedly significantly improvised by the cast, lending it a highly naturalistic affair, and though it's a terrifically entertaining scene, that's less because Murray or Johansson have genuine singing chops, more so that their chemistry throughout is so strong. Yet one suspects the general praise for the scene may have given Johansson the wrong impression about why people liked it, as she went on to release 2 music albums in 2008 and 2009 named Anywhere I Lay My Head and Break Up. Both albums received wildly mixed reviews from critics, with Rolling Stone calling Johansson's voice unremarkable and her pitch sometimes unsteady, while Slant opined that she's neither particularly interesting nor a particularly skillful singer. Presumably as a result of the recording's middling critical and commercial reception, Johansson hasn't recorded an album in the 13 years since. And number 1, David Arquette became an actual wrestler and almost died. Ready to Rumble. David Arquette starred in the 2000 comedy Ready to Rumble, where he played an obsessive wrestling fan in a movie primarily conceived as a promotion for the wrestling company World Championship Wrestling. But Arquette, a wrestling fan for real, was then persuaded to take part in WCW TV storylines, leading to him eventually wrestling and winning the WCW World Heavyweight title. Arquette, a respectful fan of the industry, knew that fans would not buy him, a non-wrestler, winning the title, and so was extremely reluctant to do so, yet was ultimately persuaded that it would be a good publicity stunt for both Ready to Rumble and WCW. But Arquette's title win was met with immediate scorn from fans, and over 20 years later remains one of the most infamous moments in the history of professional wrestling. Yet in 2018, Arquette decided that he wanted to redeem himself in the eyes of wrestling fans, and so, at the age of 46, began training to become a real wrestler. Though Arquette admittedly acquitted himself well in a number of matches, his stint as a wrestler is best remembered for his 2018 death match against Nick Gage, where he suffered a severe cut in his neck and was subsequently hospitalized. Arquette later remarked that his injuries were extensive enough to be considered life-threatening, causing him to immediately swear off death matches for the rest of his in-ring career. Arquette wrestled sporadically for the next year before officially retiring in 2021, and his fans are certainly grateful that he won't be endangering himself anymore.